Broadcasting worldwide from Washington, D.C. to anywhere you are at brightradio.org. Go mobile and download the app on Google Play and the App Store and listen on social media with Facebook, playing cross-cultural Christian music all day, all the time. This is Bright Radio.
Girl talk, dating, parenting, spirituality. We're talking about all things pertaining to single women. And yes, married women, I got something for you too. No topic is off limits on the Linda D. Lowe Show. And that has to do with maturity.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Because, like you said, she will mirror us. And if we see something in her, instead of trying to punch at that, we have to, turn around and say, hey, that isn't me. I do need to work on that. Mm-hmm. And hey, listen, fix yourself first.
And always.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And continuous.
Process.
Yes. It continues on and on and on and on and on. And as those things are revealed to us, we do have to continue to fix those things. Yeah. And it's not a one-time fix.
No.
Yeah, we would like for it to.
Of course.
Be a one-time fix.
Right.
Okay.
I just wake up tomorrow.
It's not.
And then
Right. That's a
just
good life.
Keep going. But it really and truly, if you don't commit to having that perpetual self-awareness and self-development, it will short circuit even what you're going to give to someone else, be it a daughter, a niece, someone older than you, a mentor, someone that you could influence on your job or in church or in your community. It has a huge impact if you're not ready for it. It'll pass you by. The opportunities will pass you by, and there will be more casualties if you're not careful. So it's important for you to check yourself, make sure that you're 100% all the time. And I don't know if it's 100% all the time, because we're allowed in our imperfections to still be someone that will continue to grow and to
and I think
evolve
that's
and move.
where the 100 need to be right there.
Exactly.
Continuing to grow and continuing to evolve into someone new.
That's right.
The 100% isn't saying that we have to be perfect.
Exactly.
It's saying that we have to be aware
That's right.
of what we need to work on continuously. That's what I see that as being the 100 to ourselves and being honest.
Yeah, that
so many
was the
people.
word I was looking for.
That's it.
Honesty?
Yeah, absolutely.
Honesty, yes.
Because sometimes when you interact with people, people have different personalities. They have different backgrounds. They have different experiences. And something about the way that a person could have been raised or what they've gone through or what the way they're even talking about what they've gone through might rub you the wrong way. And if you recognize that, if you recognize that it's rubbing you the wrong way because of something in your own background, something in your own experience.
That's good.
It's hard. It could be hard for you to acknowledge that and come to terms with what that thing really is.
Yes,
so being honest about what things are going on with you is going to promote a unity amongst your society, I'll say, if it's who's ever in your immediate sphere of influence, the people in your house, the people you work with, the people who are in your community. It's just that that honesty is what I'm talking about. That when you see whatever it is, don't deny it.
Right.
That's it. That's true. Right
And
there.
so many people live in why do we think that why do we try to wear a mask all the time?
We got something to prove and somebody to prove it to.
Yes.
Oh, I want to jump
Right.
over that one.
And it's crazy.
We don't want people to know that we're human.
Yes.
But it's crazy because everybody's wearing a mask.
It's crazy.
And I wonder if it's more of perceived convenience. Like it's just easier to just kind of act like you're better than, or that you're not. What am I trying to say?
Someone that you're not.
Exactly. Is it to prove it to yourself or to prove it to others, or kind of like a dual purpose?
It may be a dual purpose.
But then it's going to kill you inside. Like if you don't get it resolved, if you don't become yourself, your true self, your authentic personhood. Like, to me, it's more, you're going to pay for it on the back end than on the front end.
I agree with that part because society gives us a mixed message as people altogether, but specifically women. You have to be perfect all the time. You have to look perfect. You have to act perfect. You have to be perfect all the time, all the time. At the same time, there's a big push toward be yourself.
Right.
And authentically you.
Yes.
You want me to be myself without concealer? I could be that.
But that becomes the dichotomy of expectation.
Yes. True.
Because you're supposed to be yourself. You're told to be yourself because nobody else can be you. You're the only you are. You're the best version of you that you are. But if that version of you does not fit with society's model, then that's what you were talking about, paying for it on the back end.
Yeah.
A mixed message.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like being in a bad relationship.
Oh my God.
That's a good point.
Double standard.
Double
all
standards,
over
mixed
that.
message.
Yes. And
But who's really responsible for the messaging?
see, that is where I get into that in my book whenever if that comes up in the rest of the discussion. A lot of times you hear somebody say, they say A, B, C, and D.
Who are they?
They say
Right.
Okay, let me identify they. They are mom, dad, sister, cousin, friend, neighbor, somebody in the community.
Society.
Everyone who has said this is the way that things are, even though they shouldn't be that way. And collectively, I do identify that entity as society. You're absolutely right. There are impositions that exist in society where you know what they are, and if you challenge them, you're either going to be this authentic you that people will condemn, or if you embrace them, you end up suffering because your own experience inside your own head is complete dysfunction.
Right.
That's the truth.
Right.
And you hit on something key there when you talked about the mama piece, because in sisterhood in particularly, I think those mommy wounds play out the most.
Oh,
Yeah.
So if mama was the
They
first
do.
one to tell you something's wrong with you, all of a sudden you have trust issues with every other woman after mama, right? So I think
Right.
that is
Mercy,
really,
mercy,
really
mercy.
key when it comes into
that's it.
sisterhood. What we have unresolved with our mothers, we take out on each other.
And that's
Right.
a definite known fact. And that's the honesty of seeing what is up with us when we become older and aware and not
And realize we like our mothers.
Mama, right.
But I just
Who at the table made a vow would never be like my mother?
everybody. And that's so true. It's like I will never, when we were teens or children, I'm never going to do this to my kids. I'm never going to say that. And here we are repeating the
older you
same
get, the pattern is
thing.
It is
Yeah,
a
it's
pattern.
there.
It's the
Yeah.
cycle.
I've learned to love it and embrace it. Like
Right.
I really love all of me. I think
Yeah, exactly.
Y'all talked about that mask. I think we wear it because we really don't like who we
We don't like who we are.
So
Yeah.
we
Oh, that's
present what
society
we think everybody else is
expectations.
going
Yes,
like.
yes.
Exactly.
We don't really love ourselves at that deeper level.
And perhaps perhaps the effort to do that becomes somewhat justified by any acceptance that we believe we've received from them.
Ooh, them acclamations,
say that
them
again.
awards and degrees. Also, you think you done did something with yourself,
Right.
but you don't even love yourself.
Right.
Right.
And those are all, those
Yes.
is a mask.
Yes.
It's a
Oh,
mask.
yes.
That's so
It's
good.
A lot
just
of
to
it-
cover up.
And then the problem is we actually go so far as to think we're actually helping or protecting people by having that mask on, and then once it comes out, all hell breaks loose.
Right.
That's
right.
right.
Yeah,
You better
absolutely.
Because we hate when
Absolutely.
people call us out.
Exactly.
Man, yes.
Exactly.
Because that's not that's not recognizing, that's not being honest
Yes.
with ourselves.
Yes.
And I think really the balance for any individual, but since we're talking specifically about women, the balance for any individual is to really, this is going to sound like such a cliche, and I'm really trying to get away from that, but the balance for any individual is to really determine what makes you happy, what satisfies your soul, and go for it, come what may. If you if you are in a family full of doctors and you want to open a mechanic's garage, do that.
Right.
Because you're going to kill somebody not wanting to be a doctor.
Or yourself.
There are consequences to living somebody else's life.
Yeah,
Yes, it
your
is.
desires. I heard this woman named Laura Doyle. She wrote a book called First Kill All the Marriage Counselors. So that's my introduction to her. But she says that desire is the seat.
Kill All the Marriage
It was
Counselors.
interesting. She has a sense of humor, but it was funny anyway. We'll get distracted. But she says desire is the seat of feminine power. That if you are a woman, if you really want to live a powerful life, and you want to get to the next level, you need to learn how to honor your desires. And if we look at the things we've been taught by society as women, the first thing we sacrifice is our desires. Oh, I can't go to that event because, the kids need me.
yeah.
Oh, I can't do this because boo thing needs me. It's the
Before
first
you
thing
even
we
get to the
sacrifice.
kids, I can't eat this piece of chocolate cake because I'm trying to keep it off my hips.
How about it? Now I'm going to eat that cake.
Now I'm gonna eat it, and I'm gonna get my hips outside and walk.
And I might be humming while I eat.
Listen while you work.
Because I believe in pleasure. It's good medicine.
Okay.
It's good medicine.
But you don't hear that though. You don't hear that often.
Not enough.
And
Not
that
enough.
to me, that's a deep statement, because then I think a lot of people who are wearing masks, again, it's like they're afraid to be themselves. Maybe is it because of that
Fear of rejection?
that fear
Rejection,
of rejection,
backlash.
sure. But then also backlash.
Yeah.
Or
what
it could
if
just
you-
be plain ignorance. I know that may sound.
But
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
nobody ever really sat you down and
True.
told you how to like yourself and how to accept yourself.
and what that looks like and
Maybe
what that is
your
every
upbringing,
day.
you were always told to perform.
Right.
True.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I have a it's an interesting thought about that. A lot of times people don't recognize how thorough the influence around them are. So if you don't recognize that you're being influenced,
Yes.
you're likely to do things that if you sit and thought about it, it probably wouldn't be something that you would do. And once a person, you have you noticed that coming of age movies are always the rage, regardless of what decade they're watched in and regardless of what decade they were filmed. Everybody still talks about The
Same
Breakfast
thing.
Club because it's the story about, and not just that one, but it's the idea of this conflict that everybody goes through, where they're trying to figure out who I am. Who am I? What am I going to be?
Yeah.
And how is this gonna look? How is it gonna play out? And fear is a big thing that kind of curtails those decisions. And on the other hand of that, there could be somebody who very, very, very recklessly says, I'm going to do what I want and I don't care what anybody says. Oftentimes, that attitude becomes looked down upon because of that person's actions and the actions that go along with that stereotype. So nobody wants to say, okay, I'm going to risk being myself. Because people who have risked being themselves
Negative
were perceived as
connotation.
rebels.
Yes.
They were perceived as problems and troublemakers and things of that sort. So I do think that there's a valid struggle that everybody goes through when they're trying to define who they are in their own minds. And at the same time, embracing that for what it is. The faster you do that, the better off you'll be.
Yes.
And I think it's important that we also, and all that we're saying, is not to put anyone else at risk in a negative way. Let me say that, in a negative way. But it's important that we be honest with ourselves, that we understand who we are, and that we live out those desires that we have. Just as long as we're not infringing upon people in a violent way, because of course we're not talking about that. It's important that we do have self-control over
that's it.
how we,
That's it.
live our lives, speak the words that we
Right.
speak, the things that we do. The Bible talks about being transformed in the mind. And as we sit here and talk about this, that was the text that popped in my head, because again, society has taught us how to be who we are. Society, whomever put together the status quo, wanted us to be like them. Everybody wanted us to be like them. I was watching a J.C. Penney's commercial the other day. I don't know if it's new or old. I know it's not too old. I don't know how when it came out, but it showed women in a lot of different shapes. And I was like, and I'm not talking about women who, sometimes when you have the plus size models, they be like,
really that big.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Right.
Like a 10.
Right, a 10. Right, exactly.
Exactly.
For real.
But this particular woman I saw, she was wearing this striped dress and off the shoulder dress. And I mean, she had a little round, she had a pudge. It wasn't just a little pudge, but it was an actual round belly joint. I was like, yo, she for real plus size,
Yes.
And her stomach looked like mine.
Glamorized, right?
Right. And I was literally saying that in my head. Thank you, JC Penney's, for showing this, that we do come in all sizes, all shapes, and even our bone structure is totally different.
Does that too.
Yeah.
I haven't seen.
That's true. Yeah.
Well, everybody's doing it because guess what? Women hold the power on what society's going to push.
Yeah.
We are the biggest spenders. Mm-hmm. We are the ones that are with the children the most when they're young, right? So we have a lot of power. That's why I love Beyonce's track, Who Runs the World. I do. Now, my boo, he be sitting there like, do you have to put that on repeat for real?
Like, yep.
But it's true, because we took our buying power and said we're tired of spending money with companies that don't even feel like our image of beauty is good enough to be in their campaign. And they heard that, they followed the dollars, and they made some shifts.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
That is.
And when we begin to recognize our power, how much more powerful can we be?
Oh my goodness.
Because if we're too busy trying to tear down one another and approach this chick, you messing with my man, and that type of attitude, and
What they call that, ratchet?
no, they call it love and hip hop. That's what they call it.
Ooh, don't get me started.
Problem, that's what it is.
Yes, that's what it is. That's right.
So many
Right, all the ratchet shows. And so when we can turn away from that and begin to empower, now again, this isn't saying that we're not going to have conflict.
Sure.
Because anytime we occupy space with anyone else, we're going to bump heads on stuff, and we're going to constantly bump heads. But I think the most important thing is how we handle that conflict. It has to be handled in a positive way.
Definitely. Most definitely.
And speaking of, and I don't want this to divert things too far, but speaking of handling conflict in a positive way, I know that by now everybody has seen this Tyrese video, which the one that he's talking about how he told this lady that you don't know what it means to be a wife, and
I've seen that.
Oh my goodness!
I haven't.
It's on
Was
Facebook.
that on that show he was doing with the?
It was on a
guys?
radio
What was it
show,
about?
yes.
Oh no, I didn't see that.
And I think it was a radio show, but he went off on this woman basically, and he's telling us about what happened. And part of the narrative from his side is he was going through, on several occasions, the lowest point in his life, and he faulted her for not being able to snap him out of it, to bring him out of these lowest points in his life. And he ended up saying to her, if I was going to be stranded on a desert island and I could only take one person or one thing, it wouldn't be you. Oh. That's what he told her. And in the caption of what I saw this, in the caption of where I saw this video, the question was, is he tripping or does he have a point? When he talks about her not knowing how to be a wife.
Yeah, she did, but it's good though.
Now, on the point of handling conflict positively, Tyrese did not do that. And speaking also on the self-control
He used to date
thing,
that girl?
Yes.
Okay.
Or
was he married to her?
That I don't know.
Okay.
I know they were in some type of exclusive relationship, but I don't know if it was just a long-term committed relationship or if they had actually gotten married.
Okay.
And my answer to the question was, I think he is tripping. I mean, completely. And most people don't trip that hard without ingesting copious amounts of LSD. That level of tripping. And let me show you why. When he said to her, I'm going through my lowest point in life and you don't know how to bring me out of it. And he faulted her for that. That wasn't fair to him. And ironically, that's the same thing that men complain that women do. How do you hold me responsible for something you know I don't know? But here he is doing this to her. And I would like to, if I could, defend her in a way. just a quick moment, because I don't know that anybody did that. People kind of commented, that he was right or he was wrong or whatever, but nobody saw her side of it. And from his own testimony, we learned some things about what she did. And this is still on the idea of resolving conflict positively. Because, again, Tyrese did not do that, telling her what he told her. That was totally unfair. The other thing that I wanted to bring out about this point was that if he could have articulated his needs to her, what would have been her response? If he would have said, I'm low, I'm really discouraged right now, I need somebody to help me to come out of this, and in order to get me out of this, I need you to fly. I need to see you fly. I mean, like, jump off a building and not plummet to the ground. If I'm going to get out of this, I need to see you fly. What was her response? Did she say, you lost all of your mind and you need to retrace your steps about where you lost it so you can pick it up again? Or did she say, all right, baby, I got you. Let me go see if I can rent some hang gliders. There was no response from her on what she had, on his perception of what she had done. And he just like completely blamed her for not being able to pull him out of his own funk, as it were. But at the same time, he's big on this whole head of the household thing, but that's a whole different question. What he did say was a little bit of a complaint about, her offering her body to him, in a sense, because that was a part of his rant also. And my thing is, apparently she didn't know what to do to bring him out. The least thing she could have thought to do was offer what had satisfied him before. He's not even seeing how much she's trying to work to better this situation. He just railed her for everything. And that's why it's very easy for me to answer the question. He was on something.
So can we say that if the tables were turned, that men would say she's bitter?
Absolutely they would.
Most definitely.
Absolutely
Yep.
they would. Absolutely they would. And the funny thing about that also becomes that men and women, of course, we handle emotions differently. We process emotions differently. And if a woman can be excused for crying just because she's had a bad day, her guy may be simply there. He doesn't have to answer anything. He doesn't have to do anything. He doesn't have to fix anything. All he needs to be is there. And if a woman has received that kind of comfort just from his simple presence, maybe that's what she would in turn offer back to him. I don't have an answer for you, but I'm here. At the same time, guys don't process emotions the same way. So for them, they may need something other than just you physically being present. Now, how do I put this? For lack of a better word, a guy in his proper state of mind could still appreciate that, even if he could see that something more needed to be done. That's not what Tyrese did. He didn't even see her trying. For whatever little bit she was able to try, he didn't even appreciate that. All he did was rail her for not being able to meet his need.
Oh, Lord,
but again, he's trying to talk about being household and everything.
I'm telling you.
But that's just what I wanted to say, and kind of bring that back to what we were talking about. People will easily gossip about situations, and they'll say whatever kinds of things that they'll say back to women. You hear something bad about a lady, before you even think about it, you're already thinking who you're going to tell. And in an effort to build each other up, that's one thing that we could actively not do. And that would work toward reducing some of the animosity is a very strong word, but it kind of fits in this way. And so I'm closing this whole thing about Tyrese because I was watching that, and it was really frustrating to me because a lot of people look to him. A lot of people see what he says and they believe what he says, and exactly, they hold on to it. So for him to be as far wrong as he was, to not appreciate what she was even doing, I think we as her sisters should hold her up for that. Because at least she was there. At least she did try, even if he wasn't wise enough to appreciate it.
Because I think you have to also be reasonable. Because it's just for her to walk on water or to fly. I mean, come on, that's not even. There's a level of responsibility that the person has to take on for his own, whatever, healing, whatever. But it's just to blame her and rail her like that. That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I think the bigger conversation too is we got a lot of people that's in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
And they just don't know. They really don't have the skills, practical skills, on how to hold space for one another. They don't even know how to hold space for themselves. So even though I don't resonate with the energy that Tyrese brought to that conversation, I do empathize with his depth of pain.
Yeah.
And I do empathize with hers. And the reality is we have a lot of men who don't feel nurtured and cared for by their women. And even though I don't think it's as black and white as whether or not that is true or false, because I ain't in their bed or their house, I do feel that we as women need to take a good look at if we have the skills necessary to keep our families intact. Or if somewhere in our development we didn't learn how to love unconditionally. We weren't taught, and you can't give what you don't have.
Absolutely.
And if for example, Tyrese needed to get out of that valley was unconditional love, and his woman didn't have it,
or identified,
I understand why he mirrored back to her, you don't have what I need. And as women, what we're supposed to do when our men mirror that back to us is return to ourselves. Instead, we go to war with our men.
Is it fair to say that even if she didn't have what he needed, he went too far? Well, I personally believe that he went too far, saying
I didn't
she's
see the
not
conversation.
Good enough to be
That's
a wife.
why I want to take it broader. I'm not in Tyrese's situation. I'm just offering a perspective that as women, we need to check in with ourselves around, do we have the skills to love unconditionally? And I think that starts with us first.
Yes, it does.
And when we go back through our lives and we look at it, well, what did I even learn about that? Many of us didn't even have that in our own home. You didn't get daddy's rewards and gifts unless you brought home all A's. Like you didn't feel that, so you don't even have the skills. And I feel that God will give you exactly what you need to fulfill your destiny. And sometimes some of us need drama.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
We ain't paying attention.
Right. To allow us to see certain things.
So God is like, let me send you a viral thread about you.
Yeah.
So you can wake up to the depth of your pain and heal it.
Yeah.
But then we as her sisters, this is what I do with my sisters. I'll bring it home to me. When my sisters go through those kind of traumas, because that's very emotionally traumatic to be put on blast like that, I hold my sister, I rock my sisters, and I say, is there any truth in it? Because the truth will set you free.
Yeah.
And you may not like how this truth came out.
Honesty.
But the truth will set you free. That's Bible. And I know y'all love the Bible here at Bright Radio.
It will.
I know y'all love the Bible here. Okay.
It will.
I remember that. So, you will know the truth and it will set you free. And if we keep it 100, some of us have been making a disaster of our lives, our relationships, our sisterhood, because we don't have the skills or know how to apply love to ourselves or anybody else. And we run from it. We make everything else another priority. And then the stuff has to blow up in our face.
Yes, ma'am.
For us to go into therapy.
And it doesn't, exactly.
For us to get the help we need.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know about that Tyrese situation, but I can hear a bigger message that, Tag, why does it always take drama, especially among sisters? Why does it always have to take some drama for us to get back to our own healing work?
If they do the healing work.
If we even get back to it, right?
And that's all the foundation of honesty, knowing our truth. Because if we cannot be honest with ourselves, I don't care how much I can rock you like a baby to sleep. Okay. And if you can, if we cannot identify and say, you know what, that is honest about me. A lot of us want to say, no, that's not me. You want to shoot. We don't want to own it. Right. We want to shoot back.
How dare you see what's in the back of my closet?
Right. And that's not me.
The beauty in helping free you from that.
Right.
The beauty of these opportunities, these, I guess, bright moments, where it shines the need to look at that, evaluate it, work on it, and get released from it.
Right.
And that is work. That is scary work. People don't
is.
like change. People don't want to change status quo, what they've gotten used to, even if it's negative, even if it's a negative or unhealthy thing. They've gotten used to the unhealthy thing.
Dysfunction.
Exactly. And then not knowing that there's something way better
Exactly.
Right.
if they just do the amount of work. It's scary.
It is.
Even
Because
with
we fear the unknown.
Exactly. And we
But
don't
that's
know
what
what's on
faith
the other
is built
side.
upon.
Right.
There you go.
Right.
But
Yeah.
people
Faith is
forget
built
that.
upon.
Yes, because that's
Oh,
the
man.
beauty of faith.
Yeah.
It helps you. There's a book that I read by Stormy O'Martin. It was Enough Light. The light. It had in the title. It was Enough Light for the Step that I'm on. Sometimes you don't you didn't know the whole journey.
Right.
Just that one
Yes,
step.
that one step.
And then when you make that one step out of faith, the size of a mustard seed, remember, you make that step, then you'll see the light for the next step.
Right.
You don't have to know the whole thing. It's just take it step by step till you get to the end. What is it? Journey of 1,000 steps begins with one.
That's
So
a good
there's that.
blueprint for conflict resolution.
There
Actually.
you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right
Yeah,
there.
Identify
I
it
agree with. See,
and break it
that's
down.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's
and
good.
when we were talking about honesty, one of the things was identifying what the issue really
Yes,
is,
ma'am.
and embracing
indeed.
it and not running from
Yes.
it when you see what it is.
Yeah.
And I saw a quote on Linda's page. It said something to the effect of, if I can bring it back, it was, actions show who people are.
Oh yeah.
Words show who they
They
want
want
to be.
Yes.
So if you have these people talking about all this, great stuff, and there's nothing
They
wrong
can't
with me,
apply
I'm perfect, and all of this kind of stuff. That's just what they're saying. That's
Right.
what they're aspiring
Yeah.
toward. You
Yeah.
can pat them on the back and encourage them, but they're not there yet. And
Right.
And
On your way, buddy.
it's crazy because a
Yep.
lot of times they know they're not there, but they still
Yes.
just want to put on that front.
Because again, it's easy. And it's,
Yeah.
it's
And there's no
comfortable.
accountability with the
No
mask.
accountability.
No
Right.
accountability
And
with the
Yeah,
mask.
that's a
people
good
actually
thing, too.
believe what you put forth only for a little bit, because again, the truth will
The
come
true
out.
colors are going.
It's gonna
see
show
your
you.
true
Okay.
colors
Shining through.
shining through.
I tell you,
It's going to
that's
come
it.
out. Yeah,
That's it. And I
we
think that
cannot. There's only a certain period of time that we can deceive people before they
Yes.
begin to see the real us, because the real
Yes.
us is going to ooze out of, even if we try to
Yes.
bury that thing, it's going to ooze out.
Even when you
the
don't wanna
words
be
we
honest
say,
to yourself.
Yeah.
the things we do, the places we go,
Yeah.
the music we listen to, the movies we watch, the people we hang with, the books we read, it comes out somehow, some way.
And there's certain blessings
does.
that can't reach you with your
yes,
mask.
Right.
come on,
Right.
with it. Yes.
So some
Right.
of my sisters been crying for this same prayer year after year after year, and you're like, why hasn't it manifested? Why hasn't your mask came off?
Right.
Because God is going to
Right.
bless the truth, the real
Right.
you.
Exactly. Exactly.
God is going to bless the truth. The one behind the
Right.
weave, the one behind the nails, the one behind the title of pastor, and all, all the stuff we use
You
try to
could- yeah.
define
Mercy.
ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you're stripped bare
Right.
of
He's
all of
sitting up there
that,
like, I'm going to hold on to this until you get your life together.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
mercy.
because you
Right.
love. Because if I
Yeah.
was to bless you guys, like if I was to bless you
Yes, come
with
on.
your mask, you'd never give it up.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's your
You'd
crutch.
never
Right.
be
Yeah.
motivated
Your
to take it
crutch.
off
Yep.
because the blessings dropped with it. So why
Yeah.
would I need the real me to stand up?
Right.
Tell it.
And then
And
I
when
felt
we
my
do-
oil right. I need to go order. Next time I come to Bright Radio, I need to order. So it can be like, okay?
We up in this joint running around.
Give me an order of the tambourine, boy. That's
I
good.
got the tambourine. I got that on lock.
Choir director.
Director, yes.
And we have to begin to walk in that again. That step by step, knowing who we are, and when it's revealed to us of who we are, dealing with it.
And with
Yeah.
that is a true statement, regardless of gender. Because guys have
That's
issues
right.
that they
Yes.
need to
Yes.
handle also.
Everyone.
Honey,
yeah.
that's
And-
another show.
That's Another 5-hour show.
We'll be here.
but
Lord.
one of the things that I have seen, unfortunately, consistently among women is a defective value system. The things that she feels gives her value and gives her importance shouldn't.
Wow.
And in most cases, it's a guy. she's not worth anything unless she's in a relationship with somebody.
Put them all up.
Who's got you on?
And
Tell the truth.
while I'm
in
saying
the
this,
living room.
Got fire at the end of that table, honey. Woo. Yes.
and I think that that's a huge problem, because if a woman believes that she is only valuable in a relationship, then anything to get that man becomes acceptable.
Yeah.
And any other woman in her purview
crazy with it, yeah.
becomes her enemy.
Right.
Because that woman could stand in the way of her getting this thing that she values so much.
And even if that relationship ends, then what?
Right.
You know?
Then she has to go for the
You
next
know,
one.
Now
Right,
she gotta
he
go
has to
to
go
another
to the
one.
next one.
There you
Exactly.
go.
And another
because
one.
And it's a
And
it's
another
a
one.
repetitive cycle.
Yes, it is.
Exactly.
Yes, it
Because
is.
her value system has a dysfunctional foundation and it's defective. Anytime her value is only tied to a relationship. Now, with that being said, let me say this. I love guys. Some of them are smart, they're sexy, they're just a lot of good things.
Yes,
But
Jesus.
The minister.
That organ can play right there.
and a tambourine.
That 4-letter word you just slid out. That's yeah. Amen. Hey God.
And
Yes.
there are some very, very good
Yes.
things about guys. But when a woman finds her only value in her connection to one, that becomes the problem.
Yes.
And I really think that that sits at the root of a lot of the cattiness that happens between a lot of women,
That
because
competition.
they're fighting over, quote unquote, the attentions of this guy, because they believe that to win his affection means that they are valuable. And
Wow.
that is repetitive and unfortunate. One of the most foolish things started to say something else. One of the most foolish things that I have heard was there were these women. They were joking, and one of them said, "I went to college to get my MRS."
Yeah, I heard that before. Yeah.
That was I was disgusted
All that opportunity
when
to
I heard
develop
that.
herself and to learn and to meet
And
other
all
people,
she
and
wants
all
to
Right.
she
do
wanted was
is
that
be in the
MRS.
environment. Exactly. It's
Only.
like she completely dismissed with whatever potential she may actually have had to have a career and to do things. And all that she wanted was this guy so that she would find value in the relationship with him. And that's one of the reasons that I also believe that when certain relationships break up, women have a much more difficult time getting beyond into the next any phase of their lives, because their whole value is stripped away from them in the removal of that situation. And that's also why it's so difficult to leave a situation that some women find themselves in, because I've heard this unfortunate thing too. There are some women who believe that having a bad man is better than having no man.
I've heard that.
No man, right?
2017.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. and
mercy.
these things I really believe contribute to why there's so much extra work that needs to be done to foster relationships between women, because there's so many things that are attacking it. And those things are, unfortunately, at the core of what a lot of women believe. And once those value systems are reestablished in proper order,
Right.
then they will be able to move forward more healthfully than the choices they had been making in the past.
And to go a step further, I think not just only for women who place or get the value from men, but moms too, who get their value from their
Having
children.
kids.
Say that too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Straight up.
That's also just as dangerous.
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
anytime we place our value in other people, when we lose
That's
those
it.
people, then we
That's-
lose our
we lose
value.
ourselves.
That's
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
we're not able to function. So we, as a person, we have to be whole before. Well, I shouldn't say before, because we can even be in those situations. But when the light comes on,
Yes.
okay, when the light bulb ding, when that thing comes on, we have to recognize that. Wait a minute, my value does not lie in people. It does not lie in my kids. It doesn't lie in my profession. It doesn't lie in my man.
Right.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Or
lie
in my sisters.
right? Or in my sisters,
That's
right?
true too,
Bring it
but
It,
yeah.
it lies in my for me. It lies in my foundation of who God is in my life, because although everybody else around me can die, God ain't never going to die.
And who I am in Him.
Right.
That's another
Yes,
thing.
exactly.
You know,
Yes.
because all that's just foundational. Once everything else it builds around it, you're set. You're good.
Yeah.
You're good.
That's why sometimes I feel like loyalty isn't required in sisterhood. I know. This could be a little touchy.
Explain it.
But the reason I say that is because I think there's a time and season for everything.
What do you mean by
so
loyalty?
just because I was rocking with you for 15 years don't mean I got to rock with you for the next 15. We may be completely different people than we were 15 years
Absolutely.
ago.
Right.
Yeah.
But you know, sometimes you find amongst women that we hold on to relationships with other women that we've truly outgrown. Just for the sake of loyalty, you know what I mean? And then again, certain blessings need to reach you with the real you. So now you got to mask that relationship and pretend like you still resonate with them, laugh at jokes you don't really find funny, and all of that kind of stuff because you don't feel okay with closing that experience and moving on.
And that's true. And I get what you're saying because sometimes we think that we have to stay in those friendships only because, I grew up with them.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to invite them to this event because I grew up with them.
Knowing they gonna come there and act a fool.
Gotta hold your head down.
Right.
We turn into chameleons.
Yes.
We turn into chameleons.
Yes, that is so true, Tammy. Yes.
Yes.
We turn into chameleons. We want to adapt with everything. And I had somebody tell me something really interesting the other day. They didn't want to let go of a friendship because they felt like if they let this person go that they had outgrown, that this person was just going to spiral and fall off the deep end. But there was no reciprocity in the friendship. This person was constantly pouring in and pouring in and pouring in. And they were like, well, if I let this person go, they're going to fall apart.
Wow. That is a psychological hostage situation.
Yes.
And you've heard of people, for an extreme example, there are people who are in relationships, usually male to female, but in other cases as well, where somebody will say to the other person, if you leave me, I will kill myself.
Yeah.
Right.
And because you care for that person, you really don't want them to hurt themselves. You find yourself held hostage to their abuse, really is what it is.
Yeah.
But those kinds of situations, I don't want to say this and sound callous, but those kinds of situations will not change as long as the giver in this situation continues to enable the captor.
Right. Because I would have said, well, I'm sorry that you feel that way. What color you want your casket to be? Will you?
No, my God. Not the color of the casket.
We're done here. We're done.
Can we bring that back?
Because
you picking out the casket?
Because if you're really going to kill yourself,
not where you want the funeral to be, not what you want to sing, not what you want on the menu. Straight for the casket.
Right, exactly. Believe it or not, I'm totally with you on that.
Let me know if you want to be cremated because if you're going to kill yourself, I mean, I don't want to be here when you do it.
This is about boundaries.
Yeah.
This is about boundaries.
But let's honor that in our community, mental illness is real.
Yes.
And there are resources. So if we can just at the bottom of the screen put a suicide hotline number.
There you go.
That is true.
And we honestly have to
because in our community we're still learning the skills on how to handle when somebody we love is dealing with legitimate mental and emotional breakdown. So even though we laughing, that's real though. Sometimes that happens.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, it is.
Right.
That's unfortunately the realness of it is what gives the emotional hostage taker his legitimacy, because there are situations that do require certain serious follow-up.
Right.
So you're absolutely right that mental illness is a serious issue. Absolutely.
So when I've been in psychological hostage situations and somebody's brought that to me, I say great, and I conference call in 911.
There you go.
And then they don't play with me no more.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
Some people people who
just playing.
but some people who don't have a mental illness, they be like, all right, I'm joking. You know, you ain't got to call 911,
and I'm done.
You just told the truth.
Right.
Exactly. That becomes the end of that.
And it's important, and even going back to finding that value, because even with us living here in the DMV area, we've heard of the cases in DC where the young girls are going missing, and the fact that I think it stems a lot from them not valuing themselves and looking for value in
The
other
wrong
people.
places.
Yeah. And that's so important that we understand who we are. We understand that as women, as people, we legitimately have value with, within our foundation of who God is in our lives.
Our value doesn't have to be tied to anything else.
Right.
Or anyone.
Right.
And we can definitely receive the value that people have for us and value other people, but our value should not stop and end or begin and end with
that other person or that thing.
Right.
I completely agree with you.
Because I'm complete in who I am. I want to thank you all so much. We have come to the end of the show.
I can't believe it.
Really?
You know, when women get together,
We can talk. Yes. Brian shaking his head. Definitely. I want to shout out Annika, who made a comment. I posted this earlier in a group called Women Talk on Facebook, and she was saying, one of the things that we can do to unite, of bringing women together, is, she said, by understanding each other's differences and accepting them with respect and dignity. And I think that's important as well. I just want to thank everyone, Tammy, Tamar, Tasha, and Evelyn, for joining me on this great show of Stronger Together, and just women uniting and uplifting each other. And as we and women in our light, and as we shine light, and as we continue to do our thing, that we will continue to uplift the women that come across our paths.
Yes.
Beautiful, yep.
Right.
Tamar, tell us your website.
TheWombSauna.com. The Womb, WOMB, Sauna, SAUNA.com.
Yes, and I did tag her in all of my posts on social media, so you can definitely check her out there. Evelyn, tell us real quickly.
Yes, I've written a book called Truth Speak, Some Real Reasons That Men and Women Don't Communicate. And I'm actually having a release for it very soon. Sunday, April 2nd at Sankofa Bookstore in Washington, D.C.
All
Really
right.
excited about that.
And Tammy, tell us real quickly.
My website is it's TammyTerrellMompreneurs.com. And right now I am working on a new release coming here in a couple of weeks, prayerfully paying attention, 8 areas where we lose ourselves.
All right. And Tasha is working on some great stuff and trying to get her own business started. And definitely we can find out more about everybody if y'all come to my page again on www.lindadlowe.com. Thank you for joining the Linda D. Lowe Show Girl Talk. Girl talk, dating, parenting, spirituality. We're talking about all things pertaining to single women. And yes, married women, I got something for you too. No topic is off limits on the Linda D. Lowe Show.
To support this program and other programs on Bright Radio, visit our donations page at brightradio.org. That's BRITE radio.org. And thank you for listening to Bright Radio.